Hello. In America in the 21st century, we've experienced more social progress and technological innovation than ever before seen. We have the internet, we have social media, we have the first black president ever, we have the first vice president to be a female ever in American history. We got SpaceX doing some incredible things in space. We have even more remarkable predictions for what technological innovations are coming in the future. We even have self-driving cars, which for the longest time were seen as this futuristic thing, now on the brink of becoming a reality. And yet, despite all these things, we have more division potentially than ever before in American history. We are more dissatisfied and discontent than ever before, despite the fact that we have everything we could ever want at our fingertips. And we have more division despite being more connected than ever before in world history. So why are these things happening? My goal today is based upon abundant empirical evidence to show you that the root causes of these things are most likely due to social media and new technology at the most basic level. The dangers of this technology and in the excessive use of social media are becoming increasingly serious with each new study and research finding. Based on the documentary The Social Dilemma, which was a documentary released on Netflix within the last year, the social media companies are actually manipulating you. Why? Because they're literally bringing in psychology trained individuals to teach them how to manipulate their users. The documentary is an outcry and a call to awareness from people who worked in these companies, who did the coding, made the programming. There's even a person who invented the like button, and they're all in this documentary crying out, saying, like, open your eyes, to the American public. You know, the CEOs don't even let their kids use the social media. They know what's going on. We all do. You know, it's time for us to wake up. And I guess the question that comes out of this is, what else do we not know? There's tons of things that have become new inventions in American history recently that we just don't know what's going to happen. And on a similar note, we as a generation are guinea pigs for these new technologies. We could wake up in 60 years and not be able to read a book because our eyes are so bad, because we've just been staring at a phone or a screen the whole time. I mean, I don't know. No one really knows what's going to happen. We are quite literally guinea pigs for this kind of technology. There's also been rises in depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and actual suicide, unlike never before seen. It is the number one mental health crisis is anxiety, which is brand new to American history. According to the Center for Humane Technology, when they took 1,600 American adults away from Facebook for a month, they said they didn't let them have it. They reported being more happy, less lonely, and less polarized politically, which makes zero sense based upon our current perspectives that Facebook is supposed to offer these things to us. And yet that was being away from Facebook for only 1 month. Imagine what more than 1 month could do. There's another study that said that cosmetic surgeries for people under the age of 30, so teenagers, especially teenagers, and then even 20-year-olds, the number of those cosmetic surgeries based upon self-image have quadrupled in recent years. And these are people who are in their prime. This is all for self-image purposes. And then, according to a peer-reviewed study by 2 Italian professors at the University of Florence, there's a positive relationship between narcissism and Facebook usage. There's a positive relationship between being obsessed with yourself and making the world all about you to a medical level. There's a similar between that and using Facebook. That is another remarkable fact. And then we have problems in interpersonal relationships. And according to the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, the mere presence of a mobile phone is able to distract you from a person enough to damage the way you interact. It says that when strangers were asked to have meaningful conversations, their ability to connect emotionally was significantly reduced, even with the presence of a phone on the table. And it led to reduced feelings of empathy, trust, and a sense of closeness. With all these things in mind, the social media that we look at today should at least become a little more scary. So in the Terminator movies, there's this whole plot line of the AI and technology waging war against the real world, waging war against humans. And obviously, I don't think that's what's going to happen. That's not what I'm trying to argue here. But the question is, what war is artificial intelligence or technology or these new social media trends? What war are they waging against us as human beings that we are just too blind to see right now? And that we're going to look back 100 years from now and be like, wow, how did we miss it? How did we miss it? According to Sir John Bagot Glove's 1976 essay, The Fate of Empires, there's a good chance that America is in the 6th stage of his 6 stages of empires. He studies Greek, Roman, Ottoman, British, all these different empires throughout world history, and he basically found that there are 6 different stages that these empires are in. And the 6th and final stage is called the Age of Intellectualism, right after the Age of Affluence, which they're very closely related. It talks about how money becomes the idol for the young man. The objective for the young man becomes more money instead of honor and adventure. And that there's a decrease in the moral systems. The human brain is seen as the only thing that can solve the world's problems, and that becomes actually believed. And its self-sacrifice and dedication to service are held in lower esteem than ever before. Everything becomes about me in this selfie, individualistic, personalized culture, as opposed to a group culture surrounded by common ideals. So the question is, does social media perpetuate or alleviate these things? These things that I talked about here, where that is typically the last stage before an empire, which America would be considered an empire, falls. Does social media perpetuate these problems, or do they alleviate these problems? I would argue that social media actually perpetuates these issues, and that is seen in our world today. The social dilemma revealed some really important things about the business model of these social media companies. The business model is that their app is not the product, we are the product. They go to advertising firms and they make money from advertisements being on their social media. And the more they can get us on the sites, the more they can charge for advertising. It just makes sense. The more time they're offering it, they have these advertising agencies, the more money they can charge. So they have found, the social media companies have done research and found that what keeps people on their social media is either presenting information that agrees with everything that they're saying, or similar information that they can use programs and coding to figure out what you think, pretty much. Or they can present something that you disagree with in a very irrational and negative light. So basically, either way, you leave the conversation or you leave your time on your phone or on social media thinking to yourself, I'm right, you're wrong. So with all these things in mind, the question is, what should we do as a people? We have seen these problems, and we look at the statistics and the information, and we see that we have such division in our country. So what do we do about it? And according to the psychological science journal, exposure to fake news rewires your memories, and it literally rewrites the way you see the world. And we can see this in our election today, and it's causing these very tangible problems. So how do we address this? Especially whenever, according to BuzzFeed, there's more fake news that was shared on Facebook than real news in the 3 months preceding the elections. Now, I don't know how reliable BuzzFeed is, but this fact is not very hard to believe. So, what can we do as a nation? Well, the leaders at the national level need to make some very clear policy decisions with law. They need to implement ethical oversight systems over these social media companies, and increase the regulations on them, to make sure that the profits that these companies are making are not at the expense of American morals and at the expense of American unity. However, most change begins at the individual level and works its way up, as seen throughout history. So what are things that we can do in order to alleviate these problems? Maybe you start by taking a break from social media. Take a break from technology. Maybe go follow someone on social media that you disagree with intentionally. Maybe you go up to someone and ask for forgiveness for a way you've hurt them in the past, and seek to understand. We need to be a people who are trying to be unified and not intentionally create division. That doesn't mean that everyone's views are right. I mean, of course they contradict, so they can't all be right, but it does mean we can at least seek to understand. We all want a better America, and we just have different views of what that looks like. So we need to be able to try to understand people in order to get to that America that we think. Because no matter whatever perspective you have, people that understands one another is the better America that we all seek. So in conclusion, based upon this information, it's clear that there's one thing that is clear, and that is that technology was supposed to be used by us and not technology is not supposed to use us. So we, as we Americans move into the 21st century further and further, let's make sure that we return to what technology was designed to do, and let's let us use it and not let it use us. Thank you.